All right, we are in the building live. Sit and Politic in, and I'm gonna go live over on Instagram real quick. Make sure you follow Sit and Politic everywhere. Show some love. I'm coming in here. You already know what we're gonna be talking about, by the way, based off the title of the video. If you clicked on it, House of Dragons. It's House of Dragons season. Last year we did some videos on it periodically. Got to it. By the way, let me know in the comments how the sound is coming through, because I don't have headphones on right now, but so we're trying that. Let's hear how the sound's going. But yeah, we're getting into House of Dragons, so it's exciting. Season 2 coming in off of the season finale of season 1, obviously, where Luke Targaryen had got eaten dead by another dragon. Wow, I gotta make sure that we're live. This is gonna piss me off. Just in case, because sometimes I go live and then YouTube doesn't actually let your boy go live, that's a crazy thing. So let's make sure that we're good and we're ready to go. All right, yeah, we're cutting up. Beautiful. But yeah, so yeah, we're coming off that. Basically, you have split down the middle. You have Alicent, the Hightowers, Otto Hightower. They've usurped, I guess you would say, the throne from Aegon, and after he died. And Aegon, obviously, from the viewer perspective, you're in on it. You know that Aegon's intention, as he said publicly, was to have Rhaenyra become queen and take his place after he dies. But then the translation gets a little fucked up with Alicent and on his deathbed, because he's having fever dreams and shit, and she ends up misinterpreting something as if he wants Aegon, his son Aegon, with her to take his place. Convenient translation, I will say. Ever since season 1, I thought that was a little bit of a convenient translation to pull. But it does make all these characters, and it's kind of a theme, and we'll see it even here at the beginning of season 2, where there's just like actions that end up, I mean, if you're taking people for their word, they're not matching people's intentions that you're catching as the viewer. And it really makes it difficult. Well, it makes it where you sympathize with each individual side, if you will, because Alicent, you could really understand how she thinks that, last minute Aegon was like, actually, no, your son, who your dad and you plotted and wanted to become king the whole time, yeah, I want him to go ahead and take the spot of my daughter. And then, like I said, inconveniently ends up passing away, and it just is what it is. He was holding on by fucking honey and hay or whatever adhesives they used back in the day. He was really struggling to hold on. So the fact he was even getting words out at that point, nobody should have been taking them completely serious. But, like I said, that's where maybe you don't give characters as much of leeway as maybe I like to give them when I end up getting into this. But either way, so the beginning of this season, we end up getting the fallout from Luke dying. Everybody's getting the news. Jace gets the news at the wall. So you get to see the wall again, which is familiar from Game of Thrones. So Game of Thrones fans, automatically, there's a lot of just nostalgia, I guess, that you're getting from that. And then you meet Kagan Stark, I believe was his name. And he's at the wall doing what Starks do. I think they even addressed that at that time, the Starks are willing to give 1 out of every 10 man to the wall or something. They highlight how dedicated they are to keeping the wall staffed and ready to fight monsters. So Jace is even asking, he's like, what the fuck are you guys even doing here? He even says at one point, he says something like, you guys are guarding against, I think he says savages or something, something with some fucking undertones to it. And weather just disrespects everything that this man's ever sworn his life to. And if you can't tell, look, we're rocking right now heavy with the red and black. But this is I don't know, an arrogant motherfucker. Stop acting like you know what the fuck's going on. They even walk some after this. Might be before or after, whatever. But either way, Keegan's like, hey, let's walk over to the edge of this fucking wall. And he's like, bro, do you see how big this shit is? How cold it is? For real? He's like, no, it's deeper than that. And he even mentions, just to sell his point, he says, which I think is so fucking hilarious, is such basic logic, but so true. Where he's like, do you think they built this big ass wall for nothing, bro? He's like, do you think my ancestors built a 700 fucking foot wall just for shits and gigs to keep out, which, I mean, to keep out savages, don't get me wrong. Hey, you know, those savages fucking climb up that wall, so it's not even big enough. But he makes that point, and he shuts them the fuck up, and he's like, yeah, you got some shit to learn, 13-year-old, or however fuck old he is. But yeah, he's still, although there is some, I feel like, some tension between them, if you feel what I'm saying. But either way, that's not confirmed or anything, but I'm just saying those two, they had some tension. Sexual tension I'm talking about. But either way, so Jace ends up saying, hey, let me get somebody. You guys made a promise to the Targaryens. Are you just gonna let this shit slide? Where's your honor? You know, like I said, Keegan's like, bro, what the fuck, dude? This is a big ass wall. Of course, this is where I'm at. It's cold. This is important. We're not doing this shit for nothing, dumbass. Which, by the way, I think is interesting because it plants seeds, like a second level of seeds, where it's like, Rhaenyra is also the only person, season 1, who really got the warning from Aegon as far as like the prophecy, the ice and fire thing. The only person that really got that really clear and concise was Rhaenyra, where he was like, hey, there's a more important threat that we have to be concerned with, and you know, this is what we're tasked with. So this kind of gets passed on to Jace a little bit at this point, but not really fully, because you can still see he's a fucking hardhead and not fully grasping everything. So with that, then somebody comes and tells him that his brother died. There's a lot of development happening with Jace at this point. It's real quick, fast, and in a hurry. It's hitting quick. He ends up getting the news that his brother dies. He's like, you know, oh shit, with that. He's like, all right, well, that's serious. Kind of move on, you know, you get the whole like, oh damn, we, you know, past that, we move on. We're kind of out of the whole wall thing. I think we planted some seeds for Keegan to come back around, and he's going to be important anytime you introduce a Stark. He was cool too. I liked him. Actor was cool. Introduction to season 2 starts out cool. I'm fucking with it. It's all right. We start to see everybody, how they're dealing with it. Rhaenyra, she's obviously, look, her child died. Crazy. She is reeling from that. Daemon, who's just a motherfucker, I hate this guy. Matt Smith, for me, people love his character. He's one of my, not in a bad way though. Like, it's like same way where you had Ramsay or you had Joffrey, where it's like you didn't like these characters, but you love what they brought to the story and kind of the dynamic that they brought to everybody else. Their wild cardness, definitely he's on that. And he's like, hey, let's just go kill him right now. If we can, you know, take 2 dragons to the fucking gate, we could just kill everybody and take it over. And then she's like, just shut the fuck up real quick. I'm gonna go investigate or like fly around and shit. And I really, at first, I'm not even that clear that she's investigating. It looks more like just angsty dragon riding. You know what I mean? Like, she's going through it, she's getting it out. She's Dracarys, you know, into the fucking air, flying through it. It's dramatic. You're not even seeing that, but you know that she's definitely like just getting some energy out. And she's flying around and she's looking for some sign of her child or whatever. You're not totally clear, but like I said, she's trying to figure out some sign, which, by the way, just to touch on again, to kind of editorialize a little bit, I think that this is extremely important. Like, you're seeing her kind of show some restraint in that moment where she could just go seek revenge, act hastily. She's one of the people with cooler heads in this moment right now. You have Daemon ready to go crazy. You already have Aemon. And by the way, a lot of this episode at the beginning, and I actually appreciated him for this, I've read the Game of Thrones books. I haven't read the historical book that this is attached to. So I empathize with people when you get all these names thrown at you that are crazy and unique. Sometimes it can be a little difficult to keep track. So it was nice that we were getting kind of like, hey, let's reintroduce this character. Somebody come into the room and they'd be like, hey, Aemon. And it's like, okay, hell yeah. All right. So now I'm kind of like we're back. But yeah, so I'm just empathizing with that. But damn, why was I saying that? Guys, we're cooking up. We're cooking up and it's going great. White Walker threat. We're back. Oh, Rhaenyra, she's showing restraint. Yeah, she's showing restraint and she's being a fucking girl boss. And she's saying don't do shit. And then also Daemon, by the way, on the side is sitting there trying to get other people to be like, hey, let's do some fucking scheming. At the beginning of the episode, he's already like, hey, okay, fuck what she's doing. We still need to go do something. So he's very eager. In my opinion, I'm getting from his character, there's not a lot of like, I don't even get that this is coming from a place of pain or like even necessarily vengeance. It seems much more opportunistic from him. A lot of the shit from him is obviously very cerebral. Shout out to Triple H, the cerebral assassin. And, just, you know, he's trying to plot and move. Him and Allison, there's some parallels between like some of these characters and just their motives and how they present and then how they act on the other end. You even get at one point in the story where Aemon's talking about his mom to Sir Cole, and we'll get into this later, but he says that she speaks with like 2 tongues or some shit like that, basically just calling his mom a bitch. And it's like, damn, bro, like, yeah, Aemon's pretty hardcore. And like I said, just a reminder, we're coming off of Aemon is the guy who killed Luke, and then with that, if you remember, coming off season 1, it's not really clear. Well, it is pretty clear that he didn't intend to kill him, at least at that point. He might want to play with it a little bit more and fucking kill him later on. But his intention wasn't to kill him at that point. And and we talked about it last season. If you want to check out that episode, but I'll get into it here, where you put that character in a really interesting position where this thing happens. He's responsible for antagonizing it for sure. He's responsible for it, but it went further than he expected. But then when he has that long or maybe short, like I said, time gets a little tough here in the House of Dragons, Game of Thrones universe. You know, how long has passed and all that's kind of tough. But he has a long ride home where he really has to sit with that and figure out how he's going to present this to everybody else, because realistically the only people in the sky were him and Luke, and we find that the Aemon character is extremely cunning later on in the episode, and people even talk about it. You have Otto, his grandfather, and his mom kind of discuss the differences between like the temperament between him and Aegon, who's the king. And Aemon, I think, is a really interesting character this season. I'm very interested in how they're going to develop that character. I think he has interesting potential, especially with the material that they're adapting being less of a narrative. I think it's really interesting with how they end up just taking that character and like really painting his intentions and his actions. And Aemon, I think, is going to be definitely a problem, a wild card. Obviously, since season 1, even they've been setting up the Aemon and Daemon, and their names even rhyme, you know what I mean, and sound fun to say together. The Aemon fucking bowl is going down. So they've been setting up that meeting, but have kind of been painting Aemon as a lesser, you know what I mean? So this season, I think, at least in the first episode, they did a good job, I think, to paint him as a more formidable person in this Game of Thrones or whatever the fuck you want to call it, in this scheme battle. And but the thing is, he is actually, I'm curious to see them develop his character from a fierce warrior kind of standpoint, where I don't think we've seen that. And it's like we've gotten to see him be cunning in this episode, but like as far as, I don't know that we really have much of a reason, aside from just what people have said, to think that he's going to be super dangerous when it comes to combat. But up to this point, he's been positioned to where he's a threat to Rhaenyra's children because he's kind of like supposedly supposed to be a little bit of a badass. So I feel like we haven't seen that as much. So when I think about him and Daemon being kind of I don't know, meant to collide at some point, it seems like a battle that we really haven't set up Aemon as his equal yet in that kind of setting. You know what I mean? As far as like being a politician in a way or being cunning behind the scenes, I think, definitely we've sold him as that. But past that, I don't know. I don't know that we've really seen Aegon be a badass. So I want to see more of that. I'm curious where that's going to go. So yeah. So I do, like I said, I want to go back around to what we were talking about as far as the importance of Jace's going to the wall, and then also Rhaenyra getting that bit of the prophecy earlier in the story. And I think this is going to tie in to the end of the first episode, which we'll call Blood and Cheese. When I get into that part and we're talking about the Blood and Cheese portion, I definitely want you guys to think back to the part where we're talking about them getting that prophecy. I think that's important for a reason that'll come back in later. But either way, so we get Alicent and we get Sir Cole. He's down fucking on his knees as a sexual object, eating the queen's fucking box. Crazy as how you get introduced to them this season. I don't know. They did some interesting things with Alicent in this episode, especially with this relationship. I don't mind. I'm not a prude. I don't mind the sex and the show and all that nudity to a certain extent. But I guess if it's telling us a story, if it's really a part of a narrative, and I guess in this, I don't know, the more I even think about it here, the more I think about, I guess it is really important when you paint her character and you talk about her intentions and things like that. When you see her doing these sexual acts, I mean, last season you saw the dude beating off to her fucking feet, and she still has a connection with that guy in season 2. By the way, you see her go to him and say something about, hey, I think I have somebody that's giving out information, a leak within my staff, people that are taking care of her and stuff like that, maids. He's like, okay, I already killed everybody, they're all dead, and I've rehired an entirely new staff. So he's gonna obviously come into play as a information character. And definitely that's going to come into play at the end of the episode. So once again, when we get into Blood and Cheese, I don't know if I'm going to remember that guy because he wasn't in the episode very much, but remembered fucking creep fucking weirdo that was beaten off about her feet in the first season. Remember, he's an information player. Remember, he's going to be a power player in this. And him hiring staff, by the way, let me highlight that because that's important. I might forget to mention it at the end, but him hiring a new staff is going to be very important in the information game going forward into that Blood and Cheese portion of the story, which we're going to get into later. So Rhaenyra, by the way, through the whole beginning to middle of the episode, she's looking for any sign of her son. She wants some kind of confirmation. Like I said, she did show some restraint there. I think that kind of sets her up. She's being kind of set up, I think, as like a sympathetic hero to this point. She lost a son. She's been against most the horrible acts for the most part. Season 1, she did do some fuck shit, but at the same time, here I think we're setting her up as the protagonist, the good guy. Alicent and Otto, they're definitely Aegon on the king. He's the king, but he's being controlled by Otto and Alicent, and like I said, that gets addressed a lot through this episode, and I think that's going to be very important when we talk about the information kind of game that gets played later on in the season when it comes to the people who are the power players as far as information goes. Aegon's kind of out of the loop. Every time you see him, he's out of the loop. He's like, yeah, let me bring my fucking kid to the meeting, and kids fucking around, and he's like, he wants a fucking pony ride. I don't know if it was supposed to be, hey, this is how unserious this guy is taking this meeting, because I think that's what it highlighted really. But at first, I was getting undertones of like weird humiliation shit going on. Oh, get on your hands and knees and give my son a pony ride in the middle of the meeting. I don't know. That seems like some weird Dan Schneider shit. So I don't know. The red flags there, and then later on, once again in Blood and Cheese, we're gonna get a big spin to the story that may end up playing into these sort of character traits that we see of these characters. They may be enhanced through what they go through in the towards the end of this episode. But Rhaenyra and Daemon, they're at odds. Daemon on the undercover, he's plotting. You have Rhaenyra, she gets confirmation that her son died. They have a ceremony. She kind of says, hey, the name of the episode is Son for a Son. At this point, she basically says that. She tells Daemon, like, that's what I want at this point, revenge. But not necessarily like, I don't necessarily want to go on into all out war. I think everybody's very hesitant to do that. And I think even here, she's not saying that. She's saying, like, I want a eye for an eye, a son for a son, something equal in return. And then once again, that's going to definitely come into play heavy with the end of the story here, the end of this episode. And I think, by the way, how they led all these characters into this kind of convergence at the end of the episode was really well done. And I do think House of Dragons has been far superior from Game of Thrones season 7 and 8. Like, I think we're definitely not in that realm. So I'm excited to see where this season goes and how they build on it. But Alicent and Otto, I do want to touch on this. Alicent and Otto, they do have a conversation. They're plotting. They get the news. Alicent, there's a bit of solemnness. You see her light a candle later, and even you hear Aegon mention later on the speaking with two tongues, and they say something about they have love for their enemy. They're fucking stupid. Just a whole lot of fuck mom kind of language going on with Aemon. So that's something to watch out for. That seems to be a touch point for him, a sensitive subject. And maybe a lot of that goes behind the focus that the grandfather and the mom has shown towards just getting Aegon where he is, king. And like I said, he even points that out to Cole later on in the episode, where he's like, hey, I see that they're fucking plotters and all this, and they're controlling him. And the king even mentions at one point, by the way, that the brother Aemon is a loyal hound, and so we'll see that play out. I don't know how much of that is actually going to be true. How much of that is Aemon, once again, being cunning and kind of playing this game where the people who are really smart, really observant, obviously see that, he's playing a game there a little bit. But I don't know that Aegon is. Aegon may take that for what it is. And, maybe it's not the blind loyalty that he thinks that he does have from his brother. So that'll be very interesting to see play out when and if things get really fiery in the Red Keep, and if he has an opportunity just to say, peace the fuck out, Aegon, I'm out. I'm gonna go live somewhere, put a fucking hoodie on, Assassin's Creed style, and just live it out the rest of that way and eat bread. But Alicent and Otto, I think, have a really interesting conversation, because once again, when you're talking about power players, they're conjoined in a way. Obviously, they're father and daughter, but they've been playing this game together for a long time, because Otto from season 1, and this makes Alicent a little bit more of a sympathetic character, because she's kind of been thrusted into this position based off the ambitions of her father. He wanted this kind of status or whatever. I mean, it's past status. He literally wanted to be hand to the king and his daughter to be queen. So we could say status. But Otto and Alicent, so yeah, you have them. They're conjoined in a way in this game, and Alicent has, I think, an important conversation where she kind of points out, hey, you're undermining me in these meetings, and it's going to have a long-term impact with the kind of relationship I have with my sons, and how much they're going to take my words seriously. And I think that's really interesting, because I don't know if he sees that, and this might be him. This might be kind of like his, comeuppance, because I don't know if he sees it that way, but I think she's correct. I think this is actually very wise what she's saying, because like where you have Amon, where he's already noticing that that his grandfather and his mom is playing a game. Fair enough. That's important for his grandfather to know. If the grandfather's influence ever wanes in any way, if they don't take their mother's word seriously, that's dangerous, because that's another point of influence that he has, just based off of the fucking brainwashing that he's put in for the last, fucking 30 years of brainwashing. So I think he is undermining his own influence by doing that. And I think that's very important to kind of see. But he is still one of the most influential people in the whole game, and Allison as well, obviously Queen. So I think they're important power players. I don't think the fucking cripple dude who killed his entire family for Allison, I don't think he's necessarily on their team. I think he has his own, game that he's playing. So that's why the staff being turned over and him hiring a new staff after fucking killing everybody, psycho. I don't know that plays in her favor. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, as far as the information war goes anyway. So I think that's very interesting, especially if he ends up being somebody that's not completely in line with what she's trying to do or whatever her goals, and if he just sees some kind of like bigger picture. And by the way, so Damon does end up catching his old whore, his good old whore, his old handy dandy, in one of these ships. I don't know what the fuck she was doing snooping in the back of the ships, but I think the Valerians end up giving over their navy, and they're restoring the ships and stuff like that, and they just end up finding a whore on the back of one of them, and it's his old whore. So he ends up just reconvening and touching base with her. She's like, I don't fucking like you anymore, you're an asshole. And he's like, well, how about I just like give you some money or something. I don't know, there's some insinuation that they're going to be able to figure out some kind of transactional, is the word they use, agreement to where this is going to work out, and so on and so forth. He's a psychopath. He'll kill her at any moment. Bad deal for her, but probably didn't have an option. She's just fucked. She's a whore on a boat. That's what it was. It must so yeah, I don't know. It will. One thing I'll say, he probably did take some kind of he had some good closure there for himself, seeing that she was doing so poorly on the back of a boat. I think it had been fucked over so terribly in her life. I think he probably enjoyed that. But she has some some connections in King's Landing. This is where Damon's conspiracy opens up. He's doing this for Rhaenyra. Of course he's not. He's an asshole. He's just like, let's fucking get it in. Let's start some crazy shit. He kind of just, I don't know. He should be in prison somewhere. He just needs constant action, I feel like. I don't know. He definitely needs to be locked up. So he ends up using her connections. He gets an in on King's Landing. He's talking to this guy who's like, fuck the Hightowers. They suck. He just doesn't like them. And they have this conspiracy. They're going to get payback, get inside the Red Keep. There's this guy who's a rat catcher. He's fucking disgusting. And they're gonna kill fucking Cyclops. They're gonna kill Aemon. So the guy who killed Luke, they're gonna get payback. They've held the funeral. They've confirmed the body was indeed dead. Kill confirmed. Aemon needs to die at this point. So they're sending people in. They're like, we need the Cyclops and son for a son. So that's the son for a son point. They're coming in for Aemon. They're using this rat catcher because he knows the ways on the inside tunnels. And that's interesting to see, by the way, because the rat catcher gets in there and he can move basically blindly through that bitch. There's nobody in the tunnels. He's bringing this big ass guard that said, fuck the Hightowers, just through the kingdom. And then they get to the point where they're going to go to the next level. And the other guy, the rat catcher's like, I'm not supposed to go up there. I don't want to go up there. Please no. And the guy's like, fuck you, we're finishing this mission. I'm not doing it alone. I get it. It was a pretty scary place. And they get up there. They don't know exactly where they're going. So I think that they do end up getting to Aemon's room, which, by the way, I do want to touch on. Aemon was in there earlier talking to Sir Cole and was confiding in him. And that's where she speaks with two tongues comment. And he's really confiding in her, which when we talk about him as like a cunning player in this game, that's one thing. Like, I was impressed with the amount of kind of like observations that he had correctly made at that point, but it was confusing to me why he was revealing so much to Cole. They were doing like some battle plans together, and maybe that relationship's closer than what we've thought to this point. But I thought that was interesting. We're seeing him be really cunning and have all these plans, but he's just pouring his fucking heart out to this fucking guy who's fucking his mom. And I don't know if they have a stepfather understanding, and there's actually some kind of like close bond there. But that was interesting to me. But so either way, so we have the rat catcher. They end up getting to that room where they had the conversation. And by the way, Otto comes in that room after and says, Cole, get the fuck out of here. And he's just like, Aemon, don't do stupid shit. Why are you making plans without the king? Why are you making plans without me? Don't do some impulsive, crazy shit. So once again, maybe tips their hand a little bit to let us know that maybe he's not so well thought out as we're thinking he is, you know. So I'll say there are some signs that he's going to do some stupid shit down the line. Again, he already has done stupid shit, but I'm just saying. I guess in contrast to Aegon, when you see that that Aemon actually has a fucking brain and he's thinking and he's seeing things that are happening around him, that's what makes you think that he's observant. And also he has one eye, so you're like, god damn, how's he catching all this shit and you're over here not catching anything? And by the way, when you see the king in the hall, the rat catcher, when they get to the main area, this is kind of where we're at, they walk out of these, you know, like halls or whatever the fuck where they're supposed to be doing the rat catching, and they walk through the throne room. The king's in there just spouting his fucking mouth off, talking about I mean, things that you would want to keep secret. He's talking about his cock and saying like, hey man, they should call me Dragon Cock 3000. And talking about that's when you hear that his brother's loyal like a hound. And just, you're kind of seeing how information can kind of travel through. So I like how they did paint that, by the way. I gotta give them a shout out for that, the writers, where you kind of see it's not a throwaway scene. They walk through that, and at first I was like, why are they just letting this big ass motherfucker just walk through like it's nothing? But I guess the rat catcher cover is good enough. You want to get rats taken care of. I get that. I don't want to be sleeping around with rats. Maybe fucking like get some cats or something, you know. I don't know when that came into play, but maybe get some cats, let them roam around the kingdom, have just a bunch of them. It's better than having big ass fucking rat catchers that are coming through your kingdom trying to kill your brother and shit. So either way, they stumble on Aemon's room. He's not there. They're like, fuck, shit, fuck, damn, no. You know, which is interesting. Like, that scene I thought was fun because you are with them, you don't know them to that point. Aegon's an asshole, so you're with them to that point. You're kind of like, yeah, he needs to be confronted a little bit, and you know, what happens. But they're like, fuck, shit, he's not here. So they're like, we got to do something. You know, we got paid to do this. We have to do something. So we're looking around. They're trying to find them. They're like, fuck, we still can't find them. They stumble on a room with Helena, and that is Helena Targaryen, Aegon's sister wife. Fucking gross that they do that, but they love doing that. They do that all the time for means of procreating, which seems like you shouldn't do that, but whatever. All the kids seem nice and sweet, and they're laying in bed, sweet and cuddly, having wonderful dreams of fucking being little princes and princesses and having the best life ever. That rat catcher, they go in there and they say, we need to kill one of these fucking kids. She's horrified. Kind of. I don't know. It's interesting what the work this actress is doing. Either fire her or give her a fucking Emmy. Do one or the other, because she's either doing amazing and she's getting you really sold into, like, she's running through a million scenarios in her head. And you have to remember, this is the little girl from season 1 where she had she could like see the future and had premonitions and visions and stuff like that. So there's still some of that presence, and she's still crazy as shit. Like, when people see her, they're still like, that's the crazy queen, I guess. She's the queen, but people don't even treat her like the queen. She's just crazy as hell. And she's a baby machine. So, and that's what she's doing. She's watching over the baby. She's actually doing her job. But then they're like, hey, so we're going to take a son for a son. Tell us which one of these fucking children is the boy. And the guy's like, look at his cock or check for the cock, which is fucking gross. But also, I mean, if you're there to fucking kill some shit, then I guess, it's like you can't be picky at the means of these fucking scumbag murderers. Like I said, this is interesting because at this point, up until this point, you've been on board with killing Aegon. You're like, fuck yeah. Or not even killing Aegon, but confronting him and at least seeing that battle, and you're good with it because he is a dickhead. But now all of a sudden they switch it quick on you, and you're fucking talking about killing nice kids, man, nice blonde hair kids. They ain't have to die. So they tell the mom, they're like, hey, this is a TV show, so we're not going to fucking look at their genitals. You tell us, because that'd be fucked up. But also an interesting kind of story thing, because like I said, give this lady an Emmy or fire her, because she's going through shit in her head, which as somebody would. She has a fucking Sophie's Choice, literally. They're basically doing the Sophie's Choice shit with her. But because of her visions, you wonder. So she ends up telling them. She says, hey, that's the boy. So then it makes you wonder, because she has the visions and shit like that, does she know that like it's necessary? I don't know. I don't want to say this crazy theory, just crazy theory. But does she know it's necessary? She's like, hey, like actually this needed to happen. This needs to happen in order for us to beat the fucking White Walkers or whatever the fuck she's thinking. Who knows? Crazy lady, fucking ice spiders or whatever, she's probably not wrong either way. But yeah, so you wonder how much of that is her actually thinking and like really having a moment where she's like Doctor Strange and she's like, I've played this shit out, 300 million times, and this is the only one where we come out victorious. And she's like, that's my son. They go and they kill the fucking kid. You don't see it, because they don't go that hard, but you hear him fucking sawing through this kid, man. They fuck him up bad. They fuck him up bad. Yeah, they're taking his head. They're bringing the fucking blonde hair, the white hair kid, confirmation kill. I'm interested how this is going to play out now. By the way, this is pretty much the end of the episode, I think, unless I'm missing something. You guys let me know in the comments if I'm fucking missing something. Oh, my bad on the comments. Fizzy Bubbleick. Almond. Okay, Aemon, thank you for correcting that. Aemon knows what he's doing, but he must be friends with Sir Cole, or maybe they have separate plans behind Alicent's back. Yeah, very interesting. I'm wondering if Sir Cole is scheming against Alicent at all. I mean, his whole storyline has kind of been lover boy status the whole time, but who knows? He said, man up, Paul, shout out to you, brother. I'm glad you're in here. If you watch House of Dragons, you're always invited to come on here and chop it up. And I'm gonna be talking about this every week, probably Mondays, I would say. We'll see how it all plans out, but I'd say expect these videos on Monday. We'll get in here and we'll chop it up, or I'll drop something that maybe is already recorded. Who knows? We'll see what you guys like. If you guys get in here for it on the days that we do it, then we'll do it live. But yeah, so you have the murder happens. They cut the fucking kid's head off, cold-blooded. This kid's like 4 years old. But job needed to be done in their opinion. She goes off, by the way. She takes this is actually a good thing. She takes her daughter out, so they can't decide they want to double dip. She takes the daughter, brings her to safety. Her mom. Yep. Okay. Her mom is fucking Sir Cole again. So once again, at the beginning of the episode, she said, hey, Sir Cole, we're not going to be fucking anymore, man. We're not. By the way, okay, hold on. So, all right, we're going to wrap something up. But okay, so she says, Sir Cole, we're not fucking anymore. That's fucked up. We're not doing it. By the end of the episode, they're fucking again. This lady has amnesia or something. She's suffering from dementia or some crazy shit. She's off the wall. So, I mean, Alicent is hard to root for in season 2, I'll say. I liked her more in season 1. She's definitely, like I said, they're getting painted for sure more antagonists, I think, this season. She did light a candle, but that's really it. She lit a candle for Luke. She said his name. And that could have been for the fucking peasants to see and talk about. It might have been propaganda, to be honest. But she walks in and she's like, not even really, she doesn't even give a fuck that her mom's getting pounded right now, getting taken straight to Pound Town. And her mom's like, hey, what are you doing in here with my granddaughter? It is pretty wild. So it's serious. She's like, they killed the boy. They killed the boy. So killed her son. Killed the boy. Like I said, this verbiage, all of this kind of shit. They killed the boy. That's tricky. We're going to have to see where that goes. They killed the boy either could be, once again, like she went into Doctor Strange mode and she's like, they kind of did what is a part of this timeline or whatever. The timeline is supposed to happen. Like it happened, because there's definitely, when she says they killed the boy, you're seeing some level of separation, whether it be just because she's fucking crazy in general or because what she just went through. But for sure, I think that her saying that's not a coincidence, that verbiage is very intentional. It's a very important part of the episode. She's proclaiming this to her mom that's getting pounded. They killed the boy. So I don't know. You guys take that for what it is. I think we're going to definitely stew on that a little bit. We're going to see where that ends up going. Dangerous shit. And she's obviously hit with that news, and you're kind of, I think we're left off with that. So we're going to see how that unfolds. Aegon's obviously going to get that noise. He was drunk off his ass, having a great time. So I'm sure security is going to tighten up a little bit. Maybe he won't drink with all the fucking security and just talk shit. But definitely, I think we're going to see that change a lot. We're going to see a lot of developments with his character. That's what I was touching on earlier. Give my son a pony ride type thing. That son died. I think Aegon, I think they're making it clear that Aegon does have loves his kids. So I think this will change his character for sure. They did have a moment where you see people pleading with him in the throne room and wanting him to do this or that. And he really was kind of a people pleaser, wanted to give into him. And, he's kind of like, who the fuck's going to know? And Otto's like, no, dude, people will talk. Don't do it. So I think you're going to see whatever kind of like immature perspective he might have on the world. And, they set up some characteristics that I think that are going to become more important now that he has a reason to go to war. You even see in the preview for next week where he's like, I declare war. I declare war. So his mom and his grandfather might tell him to shut the fuck up. You don't declare shit. You don't say that. Stop it. No free speech. We don't do that. That's like saying the B word. That ends with but I think that that's going to be interesting to see how his character ends up developing from this. A lot of characters are obviously going to be changed from this. You've sort of even the odds, but with Rhaenyra, this isn't mission accomplished. You didn't kill the person that's responsible for it. You killed a child. After she killed a child, I'm sure she's going to have conflicting thoughts on that. And it kind of challenges how she handles this, by the way, is going to challenge what I said earlier, where she's really being set up as a sympathetic protagonist at this point. Her kids died. She handled everything pretty well with restraint. She has every reason to be fucking pissed. She now is kind of put in a position to where something was done in her name that's inexcusable, really, from anybody's perspective, even from my own perspective, where it's like, hey, I get the action. Jada Spades, what's going on? Spoiler alert. I probably should have put spoiler alert in the title, by the way. So you being here was a nice reminder. I will put that on there for people that watch this after the fact. And I appreciate everybody that tuned in while I was going here. But yeah, we are at the end of the episode, though. That's how it ended. The murder takes place, and you see some of the fallout. And I think where you're going to see characters go from here is going to be really important. This is going to be a main point. This is another point of friction that you're going to see with Rhaenyra and Daemon, by the way. Daemon doing this behind her back, kind of in her name, and just mission not completed, mission fucked up, man. Mission fucked up. She's a mom. She's just not gonna feel great about a fucking kid dying, and that being done in her name. And by the way, to the common people in the kingdom and so on and so forth, anybody, this story is not going to paint her as a more sympathetic. If you would have killed Aemon, I think a lot of people would have understood that. And you, for sure, if you used it as a moment to get some power, you could have ran with your own narrative and definitely taken that. It's hard to paint the narrative of like, yeah, we busted in there and fucking decapitated a kid. Fucking scores even. Scores fucked up, man. Scores fucked up forever now. They're gonna have a blood feud. We're excited to see it the rest of the season. I'm gonna be doing these weekly. Jaded, Spades, check in every week for sure. I'd love to hear your opinion on this. I'm excited to hear what you thought about the episode. And everybody, make sure you let me know in the comments how you felt about the episode. Hit me up on Twitter, Sit and Politic everywhere. Sit and Politic everywhere. It's very simple for you guys as far as where to find me. Support on YouTube. Share this with somebody that likes House of Dragon, likes Game of Thrones. If you're trying to convince somebody that watch Game of Thrones, watch this shit, then send them this video. Say spoiler alert. I'm going to put it in the title. Don't send it yet, but send it really soon. Send it now. Fuck it. Send it now so you don't forget. But send it through. Make sure you let them know, Paul, you're the man. You're the best, big dog. I'm excited to do the pod. Hopefully you're here tomorrow. We will rock out. Pod tomorrow, by the way, 6 o'clock, normal pod, talking about NBA Finals. Hopefully being over. Hopefully I win this bet and they don't fucking take my ass again. But this every week, Jade Spades, I'd love to hear your opinion on it. Like I said, Paul, if you watch House of Dragon, if you're trying to convince somebody to watch House of Dragon that watches Game of Thrones, send them this shit. Let them know this is good. It's not season 7. It's not season 8. You don't have to lose faith in the showrunners. It's good shit. 100%, brother. We're locked in. And, yeah, I mean, I think that going forward, I'm excited to see how it plays out. They did definitely give us some peeks at stuff to expect, and there's some interesting. The thing that I think has really persisted throughout season 1 and season 2 is just the intention, and then how things end up playing out. It's really interesting because people have these intentions, and regardless of their intention, it ends up being irrelevant. Like your intention to kill Aemon here is gonna be irrelevant to Aegon or whoever, because you killed somebody else. You killed an innocent fucking child. Like, you didn't only kill somebody else, but you killed an innocent child. And by the way, crippled guy that beats off to feet in fucking the past, that guy, the guy that's a weirdo, he killed his own family, by the way, for feet pics. That's true. But he that guy, why I want to say that's important is because one person that saw the rat catcher, the people that killed this kid, was one of the people who were a part of, I guess maybe his Aegon staff. So maybe it's not his people, I guess, now that I'm saying it out loud. But I think that was an important thing. We heard that at the beginning, and then we have a moment where there's two, like a staff member walks in on him, which maybe that is something. Maybe he's got fucking staff members / spies. They're places they're not supposed to be. And I don't know. Maybe that still is something. Maybe that lady was not just a maid, but she was also a fucking spy. She was in there snooping around, maybe trying to kill somebody herself. Who the fuck knows? It's House of Dragons. It's Game of Thrones. It's Sit and Politic in. Perfect time. Sit and Politic. That's what we are doing about Game of Thrones / House of Dragons. That's what they're doing. We're all doing the same shit. Make sure you follow Sit and Politic, hit subscribe, hit share, show some love, get in the comments. Let us know how you felt about this video. Let us know how you felt about the first episode. Definitely let me know how I'm doing. And then, like I said, we're going to do these live probably for a little bit. So if you guys like this and you want to call in or you want to tap in and share your thoughts, I'd love to hear people's thoughts out there about the show. I know I'm going pretty quick after the show drops, since it did drop last night, but you want to get in there early so you could talk about it while everybody's talking about it, while it's hot like dragon breath. But like I said, show some love, subscribe. We're here, Sit and Politic. Go check out the NBA Finals.